Hi, welcome to Clean and Sober Stoner. Um, my site is mostly about Stoner Doom, which is current music, current bands. If you've seen any of my interviews so far, I've interviewed Graves Next Door, a fantastic up and coming Doom band out of Michigan. My second interview, Evil Leaf, a band that hasn't even released their EP yet, but because of their musicianship, their singer, their writing, I just thought I really wanted to be the first one to get them into an interview. So mostly I'm focused on new stuff. When I'm writing for the Doom charts, I'm going through all those Bandcamp links that we get. I'm always looking for something new. In the past year alone, I've heard bands like Pariah Lord, Desert Wave out of Italy, Godless Sons in Great Britain. I love new bands. So it only makes sense that my very first album review is going to be Uriah Heep. And yeah, I'm so excited about this album. I'm even shaking the camera. Uriah Heep, and there are a whole bunch of reasons for that. I think the biggest one is it's clean and sober stoner, and my overall theory, as a counselor and somebody who listens to music, is music can get you high. And I just listened to Chaos and Color, the 25th album from Uriah Heep, and I'm high as a kite. I had to ground. The music that I'm hearing, the band that I'm hearing, the way the music is connecting with me is stellar. But they're still kind of a classic rock band, right? They are, but my argument is Uriah Heep is the classic, prototypical stoner doom band, and I say that for a bunch of reasons. No matter what you think, heavy metal did not start in the 1980s. It really did, for those of us who were there, it really did start in 1970 with Black Sabbath. Deep Purple was widely considered heavy metal. Led Zeppelin was widely considered heavy metal. Later on, you had bands like Nazareth considered heavy metal. Even Kiss. I remember reading the articles in Circus, the debates in Cream magazine. Is Kiss really heavy metal? And there'd be this whole debate. So Uriah Heep kind of got lost in there. I remember the first reviewer of their first album, I think she worked for Rolling Stone, actually wrote, "If this band makes it, I'm going to commit suicide." She hated the album. The first one was called Very Heavy, Very Humble in Great Britain. It was just titled Uriah Heep here in the States. And Uriah Heep has always been victimized, I think, by the intercontinental record labels, because if you buy their first album, depending on the version, it's going to have not only a different track order, but different songs on them. So Uriah Heep's initial sound was very heavy. It was very guitar based and Hammond organ based. And I think that's why I remember, I think the title of the article was something like, Poor Man's Deep Purple. So Uriah Heep always got kind of slagged. And for some decent reasons. I don't think the animosity towards Uriah Heep was entirely unwarranted. I think they're a band that early on, an album like Salisbury, when they wrote the epic song Salisbury, which I love, by the way, but they really were trying to capture some moments that John Lord had done when he had written a symphonic piece while he was with Deep Purple. So Uriah Heep took a swing. And I think for the most part it missed, except of course for one of the greatest songs of all time, Lady in Black. So Uriah Heep, musicianship wise, I think they were always, swinging a little bit outside of their ability. Mick Box, I will argue right now, is the most underrated guitar player in the history of hard rock heavy metal, because he's not a blazing wizard, right? He could not keep up with the likes of Richie Blackmore. He could not keep up with the likes of Michael Schenker. And he didn't have the riff magic that Tony Iommi had. So Mick Box, a fantastic guitar player. I don't think there's a better wah guitar player on the planet. But he didn't really have the technical proficiency, again, of Iommi or Blackmore or Schenker. Those are just some of the names that come to mind. Ken Hensley is a keyboardist, great songs. And I'll say it right now, if you're looking for similar songs to classics like July Morning, Gypsy, Lady in Black, Sunrise, The Wizard, those days were gone. They left about 50 years ago. But Ken Hensley could obviously not keep up with the keyboard wizardry of John Lord from Deep Purple. Then you had Keith Emerson with ELP, and then you had Rick Wakeman with Yes. You had the stuff from Genesis. So Uriah Heep was always getting kind of stuff down, and that's why I think that the prototypical stoner doom band, because they never really got a lot of respect. Sure, Easy Living was a big hit for them, and for those of you out there familiar with Uriah Heep, you're probably more familiar with Easy Living than anything else in their repertoire. But for me, Uriah Heep is extremely elevated because where they could not play their instruments the same way that, again, Deep Purple or Blackmore's Rainbow could, Deep Purple and Rainbow and Black Sabbath and all these other bands never wrote the songs that Uriah Heep wrote. Paradise the Spell is brilliant from Demons and Wizards. Songs like Sunrise off of Magician's Birthday, it's amazing stuff. The Look at Yourself album is amazeballs, and July Morning is still the second best song I've ever heard in my life. My number two. Just an amazing band, and I would say even up until the Sweet Freedom phase, they were one of the best bands in the world, but they were a little bit limited. Eventually, Gary Thane got kicked out of the band due to his drug use, and he eventually died. Original singer David Byron, he got kicked out of the band because of his alcohol use. He also died a few years after that. And then Uriah Heep entered what I dismissively call my lover boy period. I remember hearing the album Abominog for the first time and going, I felt like I should be wearing like shiny spandex stuff and have the headband around it. Uriah Heep lost its way, and it lost its way for a long time. So I don't want to give you a history of the band. There's a lot of people a lot better than I am who can give you a history of the band. But I think, like a lot of fans, I kind of fell off Uriah Heep in that era. And I didn't discover them again until they came out with this live album called The Magician's Birthday Party, where they actually brought back Ken Hensley is on that disc. One of the replacement singers for David Byron is on that set, John Lawton. It's an amazing reintroduction to the band, and they had a few decent albums. I think Sonic Origami is pretty good. But overall, I really think that Uriah Heep lost its way until 2008. And yeah, I'm going to read on a prompter here. I don't have memory. Let me give you some trivia about this band. I mentioned Bernie Shaw, who's considered the new member. He's been with this band since 1986. He's coming up on 37 years singing with the same band. And I caused some controversy on, I think it was one of the Ripple fan sites on Facebook. They were asking us for hot takes, controversial opinions. I said it then, I'll say it now. Bernie Shaw is a better singer, better lyricist, better frontman than David Byron. I'll say it again. Bernie Shaw is better. He has a 37-year track record of not only singing powerful songs, writing powerful songs, he still sings the stuff from the Byron era, and he sings it legitimately. But you see, Bernie Shaw isn't the only overlooked member. You also have, oh gosh, keyboardist Phil Lanzon has also been with this band since 1986. So you have two pivotal members who've been with the band for 37 years, along with Mick Box, the guitar player, who's been with the band since technically 1967. They didn't even change their name to Uriah Heep until 1969. Then around 2008, things started to change again, and they brought in drummer Russell Gilbrook, who flat out is the best drummer Uriah Heep has ever had. No disrespect to Lee Kerslake, he's a beloved fan favorite. He played with Ozzy, he played with so many people. Lee Kerslake is one of the original bangers, okay? But Lee Kerslake never even pretended to have the same chops that someone like Gilbrook has. Gilbrook, and I write this in my review, he's more like getting Gavin Harrison from King Crimson or Porcupine Tree into sit in as your drummer. And then I think the biggest coup the Uriah Heep probably ever got, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing any names, Dave Rimmer is a beast. Dave Rimmer is the best bass player Uriah Heep has had since Gary Thane. And I understand totally that I just kind of slagged bass players such as John Wetton, Trevor Bolder, Bob Daisley, and even original four-banger Paul Newton. Dave Rimmer is an incredible bassist with an incredible range and an almost complete mastery of his instrument, and in such a way that when Uriah Heep is going into Lawton era Uriah Heep, he's playing like Trevor Bolder. He's literally playing like Bob Daisley. He has an adaptability that's incredible, but he's not just a mere parrot. He also brings his own incredible style to the instrument. And I'm going to argue that it's the addition of those two, the rhythm section, has really helped Uriah Heep move forward since 2008. I remember, I think it was 4 years ago, that Living the Dream came out, and I was very excited about Living the Dream. I wasn't blogging at the time, but I felt like Uriah Heep was doing things that were really interesting. The first thing they were doing that I thought was interesting was they weren't pretending to be younger than they are. So at that point, 4 years ago, most of the members are in their 60s and 70s, and Uriah Heep figured out a way to lean into it and not sound like a dinosaur boomer whose thoughts are irrelevant. Uriah Heep made a very personal album with Living the Dream, and I really, really liked it. I thought very highly of that album. I thought it was easily their best one in like 20, 25 years. Looking, what I just heard today on Chaos and Color is that on steroids. And what Uriah Heep has managed to do, and it's mind-boggling when you figure how long this band has been around. We're talking 54 years of legacy. They're able, again, to lean in to their entire era, and they're respectful of all of it. What this album is bringing is the magic of Demons and Wizards. I think the inventiveness of Magician's Birthday, but they're also bringing in the more radio-friendly rock chops that they tried to do with Falling Angel and Abominog. It's like they're totally irreverent to the Lawton era, as reverent as they are towards the Byron era. The thing about this album that blows my mind is the sense of urgency in this album. This is literally a band writing, recording, and playing as if it's their last day on Earth. And not to be morbid, I'm not joking, but when you get up into your 70s, it honestly, every time they play, it could be the last time that they do it. So the combination of Lanzon, Shaw and Mick Box are bringing that urgency to the music. There isn't a bad song on this album. Most of the albums are ranging over 6 minutes long. The musicianship is impeccable. The drumming is mind blowing. The bass playing is cutting edge. But I think what I love the most about this album is the love that Mick Box is able to express with his instrument. Mick Box has always been more about emotion than technique. He's been more about identifying and connecting with the audience than blowing them away with his technical prowess. Every single song is pretty guitar heavy, and every single one of them has that Mick Box magic that those of us in the early days were used to. He stays well within his limits, and within his limits, he's still one of the best guitar players in the world. Not technically, but an ability to bend a note, an ability to turn a phrase, an ability to play along harmonically, within the chord structure of the song is second to none. So yeah, my first review ever on this channel that is supposed to be for Stoner Doom and new bands is actually Uriah Heep. I'm not going to give you a song by song analysis. I think that gets really boring. If anything, this is kind of an emotional appeal to a fan base of Stoner Doom that I dearly love. If you would really like to connect, find something that is going to blow your mind, sounds exactly like it was written today, but is very reverential of the music that we kind of love from the 70s. This could be your favorite album of February. I think it's that good. It's definitely going to be on my Doom charts recommendation, probably fairly high. It is almost a perfect album. So that's it. That's my hot take. That's my very first album review. Comes down to one thing. I really love this album. It connects to me as a human being. And I think it's going to connect equally with a lot of you out there. So it's just an emotional appeal. Listen to this album, buy this album, because it's fun, it's engaging, it's uplifting, it's simply amazing. So thanks for tuning in to Clean and Sober Stoner. I have all sorts of things coming up. I have an interview with Gravehuffer that's coming out in about a week or two. I also did an interview yesterday with Steve, one of the guitar players from Clouds Taste Satanic. So I'm doing a first reaction interview with him that I recorded just last night. So stay tuned. I've got a lot of good stuff coming. Thanks for tuning in. And please, if nothing else, make sure that you like and subscribe, because you're not going to miss the newer stuff that I have coming. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.